Chapter 1. My boyfriend called me ugly. In front of his friends. The night he called me ugly, the sky was painfully clear. There were no clouds to hide behind. No wind to carry my humiliation away. Just a wide, endless darkness stretching above the city. As if the universe itself wanted a clear view of what was about to break inside me. I remember the smell first. Cigarette smoke mixed with cheap cologne and fried food from the diner across the street. His friends were laughing. Loud, careless laughter that bounced off the brick walls of the parking lot. And I was standing beside him. Smiling, trying to belong. I had worn the blue dress he once said made my eyes look soft. I had curled my hair the way he liked. I had even practiced talking less, because he once joked that I was too intense. I wanted to be easy. Easy to love. Easy to show off. Easy to keep. He had his arm around my shoulder, fingers resting lightly as if I were an accessory. He wasn't sure he wanted to claim. "Bro," one of his friends said, nudging him. "You really pulled her." They laughed. I didn't understand the tone at first. It wasn't admiration. It was mockery. My boyfriend, Daniel, smirked. That slow, crooked smirk I used to find charming. "Relax," he said, shrugging casually. "She's not that pretty. She just tries hard." The words landed before I could process them. She's not that pretty. Not that pretty. The laughter exploded. I felt something inside my chest fold in on itself, like paper being crushed in a fist. I waited. I waited for him to say he was joking. I waited for him to squeeze my shoulder and kiss my forehead. I waited for him to correct himself. He didn't. Instead, he looked down at me and added, "Don't make that face. You know I'm kidding." But he wasn't. The truth has a different weight. It doesn't float. It sinks. And I felt it sink straight through me. My cheeks burned. I forced a small laugh. A sound that didn't even feel like it came from me. "Yeah," I whispered. "I know. I didn't know." I didn't know how long he'd been thinking that. I didn't know if he had ever thought I was beautiful. I didn't know if every compliment he'd given me was just a convenience. I only knew that in that moment, surrounded by people who were staring at me like I was a joke, I felt smaller than I ever had in my entire life. One of his friends looked at me with a fake sympathetic smile. "It's cool though. Beauty's not everything." Right. Another round of laughter. Daniel didn't stop them. He didn't defend me. He just watched. And that hurt more than the word ugly ever could. Because ugly can be argued with. Ugly can be subjective. Ugly can be ignored. But being unprotected by the person you love, that is a different kind of wound. I swallowed hard and stared at the cracked pavement under my shoes. I focused on the tiny weeds pushing through the cement. They were stubborn, persistent, growing where they weren't wanted. I wondered if that's what I looked like to him. Something that showed up in a space that wasn't meant for me. The rest of the night blurred. I remember someone turning on music from a car. I remember Daniel laughing too loud. I remember checking my reflection in the dark car window when no one was looking. Was I ugly? My nose suddenly seemed too big. My smile too uneven. My skin too plain. The blue dress felt childish. I replayed every photo he had posted of us. Every time he cropped me slightly. Every time he took selfies alone. Had the signs always been there? When he finally drove me home, the car was quiet. He tapped the steering wheel to the rhythm of a song playing softly. I kept my hands folded in my lap, staring straight ahead. "You're being dramatic," he said without looking at me. I hadn't spoken. I said I was kidding. The streetlights passed over his face in intervals. Light, shadow, light, shadow. It made him look like someone I didn't fully know. "Why would you joke about that?" I asked quietly. He sighed like I was exhausting him. "Because it's funny. That's how we talk." "Don't be so sensitive." Sensitive. I pressed my lips together. I had been called that before. Too sensitive. Too emotional. Too much. But never ugly. That word echoed differently. It stuck. When he pulled up outside my house, he leaned over and kissed my cheek casually. "Text me when you get inside," he said. Like nothing had happened. Like he hadn't just rearranged something fragile inside me. I stepped out of the car. The night air felt colder now. My house looked the same. Warm porch light. Curtains slightly open. The familiar shape of home. But I didn't feel the same. I walked to the front door slowly, half expecting him to call me back. He didn't. Inside my room, I stood in front of the mirror and really looked at myself. I turned my face side to side. I studied every angle, every flaw. My eyes looked watery, ugly. I whispered, testing the word against my reflection. It didn't feel like it belonged to me. But it didn't feel completely wrong either. And that terrified me. Because the most dangerous insults are the ones that find a place to live inside you. I changed out of the blue dress and folded it carefully, like it had done something wrong. I sat on my bed and picked up my phone. No message from him. I opened our old chats instead. "You're beautiful. I'm lucky to have you. You don't even realize how stunning you are." Were those lies? Or had I changed? Maybe I had gained weight. Maybe my skin had gotten worse. Maybe I wasn't trying hard enough. Maybe love had made me complacent. Tears blurred the screen. I typed a message. "Did you really mean it?" I stared at the words for a long time. Then I deleted them. Because deep down, I already knew the answer. If he had meant something else, he would have said something else. And for the first time since we started dating, I felt afraid. Not of losing him, but of staying with someone who could look at me in front of a crowd and make me feel invisible. I lay back on my bed, staring at the ceiling. The room was silent. But inside my head, his voice repeated over and over. "She's not that pretty. She just tries hard." And somewhere between the echo of his laughter and the quiet hum of my ceiling fan. A thought formed that I wasn't ready to face. What if I had been trying to prove my worth to someone who had already decided I didn't have any? What if I had been trying to prove my worth to someone who had already decided I didn't have any? The thought wouldn't leave. It circled me like a vulture, patient and certain. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face lit by the car's dashboard glow, the casual way he had said it. Not angry, not emotional, just honest in the cruelest way. Morning came too fast. Sunlight slipped through my curtains and exposed everything. The swollen redness around my eyes, the blue dress folded neatly on my chair, the version of me that suddenly felt foolish. My phone buzzed. My heart jumped before I could stop it. Daniel. I stared at his name glowing on the screen, my chest tightening in a reflex I hated. Good morning. Don't be weird today. Love you. Don't be weird. Like my hurt was an inconvenience. Like my sadness was embarrassing. Like my dignity was negotiable. I typed back slowly. Morning. That was it. No heart. No softness. Just a word. He didn't reply. I got ready for class in silence. I chose a baggy sweater instead of something fitted. Tied my hair back instead of leaving it down. Avoided the mirror except for the bare minimum. It's strange how quickly shame changes the way you exist in your own body. At school, everything felt louder. Brighter. Like everyone was looking at me. Even though I knew they weren't. I passed by a group of girls, laughing near the lockers, and my stomach clenched. Are they laughing at me? I caught my reflection in a classroom window and looked away immediately. Ugly. The word was infecting everything. Daniel met me by the cafeteria, like he always did. He smiled when he saw me, like nothing had shifted. Hey, he said, leaning down to kiss my forehead. I stepped back before I could stop myself. His smile faded slightly. You're still on that? On that. Like it was a trend, a phase, a mood swing. You embarrassed me, I said quietly. He rolled his eyes, actually rolled them. I was joking. Why are you acting like I cheated on you? Because it felt worse. Cheating is betrayal of the body. This felt like betrayal of my soul. You didn't stop them, I whispered. He exhaled sharply. Stop who? They were playing around. That's how we joke. You're too sensitive. God. Too sensitive. The words hit harder now because they came layered over ugly. I felt heat rising in my chest, but it wasn't anger. It was something smaller. Resignation. I just wanted you to defend me, I said. From what? Reality. He replied, and then laughed lightly, like he hadn't just dropped something poisonous between us. Reality. So it wasn't a joke. I looked at him carefully. At the boy I had memorized. The way his eyebrows tilted when he was annoyed. The small scar near his chin. The lips I used to think were gentle. He didn't look like someone who thought I was beautiful. He looked like someone tolerating me. You're being dramatic again, he added. Can we just not ruin the day? ruin the day. As if I had that power. As if he hadn't already cracked something open. I nodded slowly. Because I didn't know what else to do. We sat down with his friends during lunch. The same friends. I felt like I was walking into the scene of a crime. One of them glanced at me and smirked slightly. I couldn't tell if it was real or if my mind was inventing it. Daniel talked loudly, confidently. He barely looked at me. And I noticed something. He only touched me when other couples walked by. His hand would suddenly find my waist. His arm would drape around my shoulder. Possession. Not affection. I felt like an object he didn't value, but didn't want anyone else to take. At one point, one of his friends said, "Yo, Daniel, you bringing her to Jake's party this weekend?" There was a pause. A small one. But I felt it. "I don't know," Daniel said. "We'll see. We'll see." Like I wasn't automatically included in his life. Like I was optional. I excused myself early and went to the bathroom. I locked myself in a stall and sat on the closed toilet seat, breathing slowly. I pulled out my phone and opened my camera. I stared at my face on the screen. "Am I ugly?" I whispered. My reflection didn't answer. But my mind did. "Maybe you are. Maybe you were just lucky he chose you. Maybe this is the best you'll get." Tears slipped down before I could stop them. I wiped them quickly, terrified someone would hear. Because if I cried over this, it would confirm what he thought. Too sensitive. I washed my face and went back out, pretending I was fine. That afternoon, Daniel barely texted me. When he did, it was short. "Don't be moody. You're overthinking. Stop making it a big deal." Each message felt like another layer of dismissal. By evening, I was exhausted. Not from school. From shrinking. When he called later that night, I almost didn't answer. Almost. "Are we good now?" he asked immediately. "We." As if the problem was shared. "I don't know," I said honestly. Silence. Then a sigh. "You're seriously going to drag this out?" Drag this out. Like my hurt was something dramatic and theatrical. "I just don't understand why you'd say that," I whispered. He paused, then said something softer. "You know I don't mean it like that." "Like what?" "Like the truth." "Then how do you mean it?" I asked. Another pause. "I mean you're not, like, Instagram hot. But you're cute. You're fine. Why are you making it deeper than it is?" The words settled heavily. Not Instagram hot. Cute. Fine. Settling words. Average words. I realized something in that moment. He didn't see me the way I saw him. I had looked at him like he was extraordinary. He looked at me like I was convenient. And that imbalance was breaking me slowly. "I have to go," I said. "See? You're mad again." "I'm tired," I corrected. And that was the truth. I was tired of questioning my reflection. Tired of wondering if love was supposed to feel like auditioning. Tired of begging silently for crumbs of reassurance. After we hung up, I sat in the dark of my room. I didn't turn on the lights. I didn't play music. I just sat there, listening to my own breathing. And for the first time since he said it, I asked myself a different question. Not, am I ugly? But, why am I with someone who makes me feel like I am? Why am I with someone who makes me feel like I am? The question lingered in the darkness of my room long after the call ended. I tried to answer it honestly. Because I love him. But love shouldn't feel like this. Because he chose me. But what does that mean if he doesn't choose me with pride? Because I'm scared to lose him. That one felt closer to the truth. I was scared. Not of being alone, but of confirming something I had secretly believed about myself for years. That I wasn't the girl someone would fight for. The next few days felt like walking on cracked ice. Daniel acted normal. Too normal. He sent memes. He complained about homework. He asked what I was wearing. He didn't bring up that night again. It was like he expected time to erase it. But time doesn't erase humiliation. It just lets it settle deeper. At school, I started noticing things I had ignored before. The way he followed certain girls with his eyes. The way he complimented them openly. Emma looks insane today. Sophia always knows how to dress. He said it casually, like it was harmless. And maybe it was. But after what he had said about me, every comment felt like comparison. I started comparing too. Emma's waist was smaller. Sophia's skin was clearer. Other girls laughed louder, flipped their hair confidently, walked like they belonged in their bodies. I started shrinking further into mine. One afternoon, I skipped lunch with his friends and sat outside near the old oak tree behind the school building. It was quiet there, peaceful. I wrapped my arms around my knees and stared at the ground. You look like you're about to cry. I startled at the voice. I looked up and saw Aaron standing a few feet away. Aaron had been in my history class for 2 years. We weren't close, but he was always kind. The quiet type. Observant. I'm fine, I said automatically. He didn't move closer, just leaned lightly against the tree trunk. You don't look fine. I forced a small smile. You don't look like a therapist. He laughed softly. Fair. There was silence. Not uncomfortable, just gentle. Can I ask you something? He said. I hesitated. Okay. Why do you always look nervous when you're with Daniel? The question hit too close. I don't. I replied quickly. Aaron didn't argue. He just looked at me in a way that made lying feel pointless. You do, he said quietly. Like you're waiting to be graded. Graded. The words sent a chill through me, because that's exactly how it felt. Like I was constantly being evaluated. Am I pretty enough today? Am I fun enough? Am I embarrassing him? I'm not nervous. I insisted, but my voice cracked slightly. Aaron noticed. He said something to you the other night, didn't he? My heart skipped. You were there? I asked. He nodded. Yeah. I hadn't even noticed him in the parking lot. What did he say? I asked, though I already knew. Aaron hesitated, as if choosing his words carefully. He called you ugly. Hearing it from someone else felt different. Sharper. I didn't think it was funny. Aaron added. My throat tightened. Everyone else did? I whispered. I didn't, he repeated. There was no pity in his voice. No dramatic sympathy. Just fact. I looked away, blinking quickly. It was a joke, I said weakly, repeating Daniel's defense like it was rehearsed. Aaron was quiet for a moment. Do you believe that? I opened my mouth, closed it. Because no, I didn't. I just think. He continued gently. If someone cares about you, they don't gamble with your self-esteem for laughs. The words settled into me slowly. If someone cares about you, they don't gamble with your self-esteem for laughs. My chest felt tight again, but not from shame this time. From clarity. You're not ugly, Aaron said suddenly. I froze. He wasn't staring at me intensely. He wasn't trying to be charming. He just said it plainly. Like stating the weather. I'm not saying that because you look sad, he added. I've thought that for a while. My heart pounded in a confused rhythm. No one had said it like that before. Not dramatically. Not possessively. Just simply. Why? I asked quietly. He shrugged lightly. You have expressive eyes. You smile like you mean it. And you care too much about people who don't deserve it. My throat tightened painfully, because Daniel had called that weakness. Too sensitive. Too emotional. Too much. But here, in Aaron's voice, those same traits sounded almost beautiful. I should go, I said suddenly, standing up too fast. The vulnerability felt overwhelming. Aaron nodded. Okay. I started to walk away, then paused. Why are you telling me this? I asked without turning around. Because I don't like watching someone believe something that isn't true, he replied. I didn't answer, but his words followed me all the way home. That evening, Daniel texted, Party at Jake's tomorrow. You're coming. Not a question. A decision. I stared at the message for a long time. A week ago, I would have felt excited. Now, I felt tired. Still, I typed back. Okay. The next night, I stood in front of my mirror again. Different dress this time. Black. Simple. Safe. I applied makeup more carefully than usual, trying to sculpt myself into something closer to Instagram hot. When Daniel picked me up, he looked me over quickly. You look fine, he said. Fine. That word again. At the party, music thumped through the walls. People laughed, shouted, danced. Daniel disappeared, almost immediately to greet his friends. I stood near the kitchen counter, pretending to scroll on my phone. A group of girls walked past me, confident and glowing under the dim lights. I felt invisible. Then I heard it, not loud, not shouted, just casual. Bro, she's here. A chuckle. Still. And then Daniel's voice. Yeah, man. I told you, she's chill. Just not, you know. A not what? Not pretty. Not impressive. Not enough. My chest tightened as the realization settled in. He wasn't defending me when I wasn't around either. He wasn't joking once. He believed it. And worse, he was comfortable saying it. Something inside me went quiet. Not shattered, not explosive, just still. Like a lake after the storm passes. And for the first time since that night in the parking lot, I didn't feel embarrassed. I felt awake. I turned away from the kitchen entrance before they could see me. And in the middle of the noise and flashing lights, I understood something with terrifying clarity. He didn't love me. He just liked having me. And those are not the same thing. He didn't love me. He just liked having me. And those are not the same thing. The realization didn't hurt the way I expected it to. It didn't stab. It didn't explode. It settled. Heavy. Certain. Final. I stood there for a moment, listening to the music throb through the walls. People shouting over each other. Glasses clinking. Everything felt distant, like I was underwater watching the world from beneath the surface. A week ago, I would have walked back into that kitchen, pretending I hadn't heard anything. I would have laughed louder, smiled brighter, proved I was chill. But something inside me was too tired to perform. I walked toward the front door instead. No announcement. No dramatic confrontation. Just quiet footsteps. As I reached for the handle, I heard his voice behind me. "Hey, where are you going?" I turned. Daniel stood a few feet away, brows slightly furrowed, like I had misplaced myself. "Home," I said calmly. He glanced around. "The party just started." "I know." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You're not going to do this again, are you?" "Do what?" "Feel?" "Exist." "I heard you," I said. His expression shifted for a fraction of a second, then hardened. "Heard what?" "In the kitchen." A pause. Then a scoff. "You're seriously eavesdropping now?" The deflection was almost impressive. I wasn't eavesdropping. I was standing there. He ran a hand through his hair, irritated. "You're twisting things." "Am I?" His jaw tightened. "You're embarrassing me," he muttered. Embarrassing him. The irony almost made me laugh. "I'm embarrassing you." I repeated softly. "Yes," he snapped. "You're making everything dramatic. It's just a party. Chill." There it was again. Chill. The version of me he preferred. Quiet. Undemanding. Unhurt. "I don't think I can be with someone who's embarrassed by me," I said. The words surprised even me. They didn't shake. They didn't crack. They just existed. Daniel stared at me like I had spoken in another language. "Where is this coming from?" he asked. "From every moment you made me feel small. From every time you compared me. From every joke that wasn't really a joke. You don't respect me," I said instead. He laughed, but it wasn't amused. "Oh my God. This is insane." "Yes?" "You're acting like I abused you." I made a joke. "It wasn't a joke," I said quietly. He opened his mouth, then closed it. Because he knew. We both knew. "You're overreacting." He tried again, softer this time. Why are you trying to throw this away? Throw this away. As if what we had was something precious. I looked at him carefully. Really looked. And I saw it. Not love. Not remorse. Just inconvenience. He didn't want to lose me, because losing me would bruise his ego. Not because losing me would break his heart. I'm not throwing anything away, I said. I'm choosing myself. The words felt foreign and powerful all at once. His face shifted again, this time from irritation to disbelief. You're breaking up with me, he asked. The question hung between us. A week ago, I would have panicked. Now, I felt strangely calm. Wes. The music inside the house swelled, people cheering at something. Life continuing. Daniel stared at me, like he was waiting for me to smile, and say I was kidding. I didn't. You're going to regret this, he said quietly. Maybe. But I would regret staying more. I hope not, I replied. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then he shook his head. Whatever. If you want to be dramatic, go ahead. There was no apology. No fight. No attempt to fix it. Just dismissal. And somehow, that hurt less than everything else. Because it confirmed what I already knew. I wasn't losing someone who valued me. I was releasing someone who didn't. I opened the door and stepped outside. The night air hit my face. Cool, grounding. I expected tears. They didn't come. Instead, I felt something unfamiliar. Space. The walk home was long, but I didn't call for a ride. I needed the distance. With every step, the noise of the party faded behind me. And in the quiet, my thoughts grew clearer. He called me ugly. But the real ugliness wasn't in my face. It was in the way he spoke about someone who loved him. It was in the way he made insecurity feel like humor. It was in the way he tried to convince me my pain was inconvenient. By the time I reached my house, my legs ached, but my chest felt lighter. Inside my room, I stood in front of the mirror again. The same mirror. The same face. But something had shifted. I looked tired, eyes slightly swollen. Mascara smudged, but not ugly. Just human. Why did you believe him? I whispered to my reflection. Because he was loud. Because he was confident. Because he acted like his opinion was fact. But opinions are not truth. And love is not supposed to feel like survival. My phone buzzed. A message from Daniel. You're being crazy. Another one followed. Don't text me when you realize you messed up. I stared at the screen. Then turned it off. For once. I didn't feel the urge to defend myself. I didn't feel the need to prove I wasn't crazy. I crawled into bed without changing. And for the first time in days, I slept. Not perfectly, not peacefully, but deeply enough to dream of something other than his voice. When morning came, I expected to feel regret. Instead, I felt fragile. Like glass that had cracked but hadn't shattered. At school, whispers traveled fast. Breakups are entertainment. People stared subtly. Some openly. Daniel walked past me in the hallway without looking. His friends followed, pretending I was invisible. It stung. but not the way it used to. Because invisibility from people who diminish you is not a loss. It's protection. Near the oak tree, I saw Aaron again. He looked up when he noticed me. There was a question in his eyes. I nodded slightly. "It's over," I said. He didn't smile widely. He didn't celebrate. He just said, "Okay." And somehow that simple acknowledgement felt more supportive than anything dramatic. "Are you okay?" he asked. I considered the question carefully. "I think so," I replied. And for the first time, that answer felt honest. Because even though my heart was bruised, my self-respect was slowly stitching itself back together. And that mattered more than keeping someone who never truly saw me. And that mattered more than keeping someone who never truly saw me. The days after the breakup were quieter than I expected. There were no dramatic confrontations. No desperate late night calls from him. Just distance. Daniel didn't try to win me back. At first, that hurt more than anything else. A small, fragile part of me had hoped he would show up at my door and say he was wrong. That he didn't mean it. That he had been stupid and insecure and careless. But he didn't. And slowly, painfully, I began to understand something important. He couldn't apologize for something he didn't believe was wrong. The whispers at school faded after a week. People found new stories to talk about. New couples to analyze. New drama to feed on. I remained. Still here. Still breathing. Still me. The first time I posted a picture of myself after the breakup, my finger hovered over the upload button for a long time. It was a simple photo. No heavy makeup. No strategic angles. Just me sitting by my bedroom window. Sunlight touching my face. I almost didn't post it. What if people agreed with him? What if the comments were silent? What if someone laughed? But then another thought surfaced. What if I stopped measuring my reflection through other people's eyes? I pressed post. I put my phone down immediately, heart racing like I had just jumped off something high. Minutes passed. Then the notifications started. Not thousands. Not dramatic. Just normal. A few heart emojis. A couple of, "You look pretty." Aaron commented something simple. "Sunlight suits you." I stared at that one the longest. Because it wasn't exaggerated. It wasn't trying too hard. It was gentle. And that's what I was learning to crave. Gentleness. Weeks passed. Daniel started dating someone new. She was exactly the type he always praised. Sharp jawline. Perfect skin. Confident smile. When I first saw them together in the hallway, my stomach twisted. Comparison tried to crawl back into my chest. See, she's better. That's what he wanted. But then I watched more carefully. I saw the way he stood slightly ahead of her when walking with his friends. The way he laughed a little too loud. The way she adjusted her hair constantly, glancing at him for approval. And something clicked. It wasn't about beauty. It was about control. It was about being the one who decided someone's worth. And I had stepped out of that game. One afternoon, I found myself back under the oak tree, It had become my place. Aaron sat beside me, not too close, not too far. "You don't look nervous anymore," he said casually. I smiled faintly. "I'm not being graded anymore." He nodded like that made perfect sense. We sat in comfortable silence. After a while, he said, "Can I ask you something?" I laughed softly. "You always do." He smiled. "What did you see when you looked in the mirror that night?" The question made my chest tighten slightly. "Someone who believed him," I admitted. "And now?" I thought about it. Now, when I looked in the mirror, I still saw flaws. A nose I sometimes wished was smaller. Skin that wasn't flawless. Eyes that cried too easily. But I also saw strength. I saw someone who walked away. "I see someone learning," I said quietly. Aaron looked at me for a long moment. "That's good," he replied. He didn't rush to fill the silence after that. And I realized something subtle but powerful. With him, I never felt like I had to shrink. I never felt like I was too much. I never felt like my feelings were dramatic. One evening, months later, I ran into Daniel at a coffee shop. It was accidental. We both froze for a second. He looked the same. Maybe slightly older. Slightly tired. "Hey," he said awkwardly. "Hey." There was no anger in me anymore. Just distance. He glanced at me properly, as if seeing me for the first time in a while. "You look different," he said. I raised an eyebrow. "Different how?" He hesitated. "Better," he admitted. I almost smiled. Because the validation I once craved from him didn't hit the same way anymore. "I'm happier," I said simply. He nodded slowly. There was something in his expression I couldn't quite read. Regret, maybe. Or confusion. "I didn't mean to hurt you," he said after a moment. The apology came too late. But it came. "I know," I replied. "And I meant that too. Because sometimes people hurt you not out of cruelty, but out of carelessness. And carelessness can still leave scars." We said goodbye shortly after. As I walked away from the coffee shop, I caught my reflection in the glass door. For a split second, I saw the girl from that night in the parking lot. Small, embarrassed, questioning her worth. But she wasn't here anymore. In her place stood someone softer with herself. Someone who understood that beauty is not a performance. It is not approval. It is not being the loudest or the most admired in the room. It is the quiet confidence of knowing you deserve respect. That night, back in my bedroom, I stood in front of the mirror one last time. The same mirror that had witnessed my doubt. I traced my reflection with my eyes. "You are not ugly," I whispered. Not because someone else said it. Not because a boy chose me. But because I finally believed it. And maybe that was the real heartbreak of the story. Not that he called me ugly. But that for a moment, I agreed. Loving yourself after someone tries to define you is slow. It is messy. It is not cinematic or loud. It is small decisions every day. Choosing not to text back. Choosing not to compare. choosing not to let one careless sentence become your identity. He once said I wasn't that pretty. But he was wrong about something much bigger. I was never trying too hard to be beautiful. I was trying too hard to be enough for someone who couldn't recognize worth, unless it was convenient. And now, when I walk into a room, I don't scan for approval. I don't wait to be defended. I don't brace for laughter. I simply exist. And that, quietly, steadily, is the most beautiful I have ever felt.